Yes, here we are. We're back. We're live and we're worldwide. I'm Tom Catalini.
I'm Jen LeClaire.
And I'm Eugenia Gibbons.
So, someday we should plan at least that much in advance, like who in what order. But
I never know because it depends on how you all line up on my screen.
Right.
But this is Let's Talk Melrose, a show where Melrosians talk to Melrosians about Melrose. That's what we do. But we're getting ready to go worldwide right now. So we posted
for real.
We posted in the Melrose community group and a few other places to try and reach out because, as Kevin Bacon taught us, we're only 6 degrees away from everybody else on Earth. We're a very connected planet. And so we thought, geez, somebody must know somebody who might know somebody in Melrose, Scotland, which is the OG of Melrose. That's where it came from. You know, we're proudly like 120 years old as a city, and I think we were a town for a little while before that. And before that, we were part of Malden. Yeah, you start Googling this Melrose, Scotland, and they've been around for like 10 times that long. There's stuff back to like the 12th century and all of that. So I couldn't really quite get a handle on that, but they were here first. So one of the things we just want to say up front is we want to keep the connections coming. So we've met a few interesting people over there already. And the global reach of Melrose is nothing short of amazing. We're never disappointed by that. So you can reach us on our Facebook page, or you can email me directly, tom@letstalkmelrose.com, and we're making connections.
Awesome. It was a big day today. It was a big day. What else is going on?
Oh, wait a minute. Are you taking us to the news?
I am.
Okay, wait a minute.
Ready?
Here we go.
Hold on. I didn't get it. There we go. Yeah. Today was
one of those, it was a big day news, but it was expected news, but it was still big.
Yeah, it still feels big when it's final. Yeah. So
but not surprising. What happened, Eugenia? Give us some updates.
The Governor Baker announced today during his 12 o'clock press conference that schools are canceled through the end of the year. So parents everywhere started drinking at 12
at noon. Yeah, exactly. Right. If they hadn't already.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, other states have obviously already done that, but it was the right thing to do, and you know, he's made good calls, but it's a bummer. The school year had to end so abruptly.
Yeah.
Particularly for seniors.
No closure. Yeah.
For seniors, graduating this year, college or high school, I think it's very difficult. Yeah. And Melrose has a great tradition started by Michelle Carson and a whole team of people that do the grad night, which is a really unique experience. So I still am hopeful that, you know, we'll find a way to do something more appropriate, but just as fun at a different time, including some kind of ceremonial walk or, you know, I don't know. But I think in time when we get some of the opening starts and the protocols become clearer, we'll be able to figure something out. I hope.
All of the class of 2020 everywhere has been completely deprived of spring semester senioritis.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I mean, I can speak personally for this one. Yeah. I mean, these kids work so hard. They've just, to put it in context. And again, I always preface this by like first world problem. I'm very aware of that, but, these kids, they've just finished, you know, all their college, finishing all the college essays and all the applications and all their exams. This was really the like ride it out time where you're just hanging out with your friends and graduation and, you know, all of that. And not to mention the fact that they're making decisions right now about where they're choosing to go to college. And we don't even know if they're going to be able to show up to college. I'm fearful myself that this is going to be like a 1-2 punch. I mean, it's really awful, honestly. But there's lots of parents. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add to that. Sorry, that at BU, Boston University, is one of the first kind of signaling that maybe they're thinking about not gathering in the fall, which is dramatic. My daughter goes to UVM. The president there sent us a letter that they are planning so far, you know, for some kind of normal reentry. So it might depend city school versus not, even though there's like 12, 13,000 students.
You're still living in dorms and cafeterias and stuff like that. So who knows? But
I think,
so we'll see.
We'll probably see, it won't be surprising to see a lot of students defer a year, I think.
Yeah, but so I've been talking about that. There's mixed feelings about that in my house, but even deferring a year, you know, the gap year sounds attractive, but even gap year kind of activities are compromised. You know, I mean, maybe you can't travel, or like, what are you going to do in your gap year? I'm not even sure that that's even an attractive option anymore. So I don't know what the answer is, but it's definitely stuff that my family is and others obviously are looking at. But here in Melrose, I know that lots of awesome, again, Melrose runs on volunteers and awesome parent support and volunteer support. And I know that not only the grad night, awesome grad night crew are thinking about these things, and Mr. Merrill and the city are thinking about all these things, but I know volunteers, you know, people have already been throwing out different ideas for, we could do this, we could do that. I love all the ideas. I love most of the ideas, but also timing. Like, I think everybody's eager to do something right now. I've always felt like that you know, these things need to happen at the right time, so we don't, you know, expend all of our sort of class of 2020 celebration right now, and then their graduation date rolls around a month from now. It's actually even more than a month from now, and we've exhausted all of our celebrations, and they're sad when they're realizing that, like, oh, today would have been my graduation. So I think timing is going to be important in some of these things, but in any case, I'm excited to think about some ways that we can celebrate the kids for sure.
Yeah, well, I think we'll figure that out. And yeah, so yesterday, Boston Marathon Day, Patriots Day passed quietly, and so I'm confident we'll find a way. In other news in the city, just today was the fire on Willow Street. We actually have a little bit of footage from down there that you can see. Tremendous response from a lot of fire and emergency service frontline people, and it looks like quite a bit of damage to the house on Willow Street. I forget the exact address. It's Melrose Patch has it well covered. But a lot of destruction there, and to the house next door. So I don't really have any details, but it was really kind of a shame to see something like that happen at a time like this. You know, you're being locked down is one thing, and then have to face something like that, I think is just very, very difficult. Right.
How do you lock down when you don't have your house anymore? And I think, again, that awesome people of Melrose are already stepping up to help those families. And I don't know the details of that, but I know I've seen that. That's coming together, you know, already. So,
and there's other ways that Melrosians are helping Melrosians. And that's, we were going to talk about a little bit of a food theme this week, and talk about some things in there. I think one of the things on a kind of a little bit more happier note, I don't know where you guys want to go. I'll let you pick, Jen or Eugenia, which topic you might want to jump to next.
All things food, whatever you want. Eugene, you want to go first?
No, I'm going to go with whatever I'm going to go with whatever you guys do.
Okay.
How about feeding the front line? Right? Melrosians helping Melrosians. So that's something that MMTV and this show, Let's Talk Melrose. Melrose got behind, of course, started by Margaret Block, who spawned the whole thing. We just kind of took that and ran with it. That was covered in the patch this week.
We have some numbers on that. So far there's been $6,000 raised. Nearly half of that is already spent on 1,000 meals for our frontline healthcare workers at Melrose Wakefield Hospital and the supporting practices over there. So
that's excellent.
So the folks who are organizing the logistics side of that, the getting the food to the people, they are still doing that. So they're still exhausting that fund and using the money to finish. Those workers are still there. They're still working. They're still in isolation. They still need to eat. So they're still buying and sending food over there. So thank you everybody who contributed to that.
Just a quick reminder. So right on letstalkmelrose.com, there's a donate button, which goes to MMTV. That money is used to buy food from local restaurants and bring it over to the frontline workers at Melrose Wakefield Hospital.
Yeah. There's also other food insecurity efforts going on. Bread of Life. Anybody want to jump in and talk about that kind of stuff? I know there's several sort of food and meal drive efforts going on in Melrose. I have that too, if anybody needs that, or if anybody wants to jump in on that. Anybody?
Well, you can give us an update. I know that there was a Bread of Life activity over the weekend, and that is involved students from Melrose, and we will make sure we post the information for how folks can support getting food donations and other things to people in the community.
Exactly.
Do you want to give the details about it?
I know a little bit, but I think there's so much that we'll save most of that for online, so we can have the links and stuff like that. But just a run through. So Bread of Life Food Pantry in Malden, I know that they actually need sort of in-person volunteers. My daughter Clara's been volunteering over there. They do provide you, it's safe. They do provide you with masks and gloves, but there's an increased need. There are obviously more visitors to the food pantry now, so they need in-person volunteers, and they also need paper bags to deliver the food. There are groups of kids in Melrose that are collecting food to send over there. MHS students are collecting juice boxes and milks to send over there. There's a separate branch that's actually a meals drive. So I'm assuming this is for like folks who are suffering from food insecurity, but maybe they don't have a kitchen. Like you actually need the whole meal prepared. So that's a separate initiative, also sort of a branch of Bread of Life. And then also Chris Sanella, financial advisor for Edward Jones, is also organizing a food drive for them. So you can donate food over there right downtown. So that's everything I know about that.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the tough parts, I think, about school being closed. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot about that for the year, because schools are safe havens and places to get meals and support and other things. So these are ways that folks in the community can step up and help support some of the local food needs.
Yeah. And last but not least, there's so much other stuff, but I think we need to condense, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention this Thursday is National Picnic Day. And of course, Melrose is participating. The Chamber of Commerce is participating, local restaurants. We have vendors from the farmers market vendors are participating. So if you go to melrosetogether.com, there's a list of participating businesses. Basically this Thursday, the weather's gonna be decent. Have a picnic, either lunch or dinner or snack, whatever you want, out on your front lawn. You can order something from our Melrose businesses to support them and have fun, and just like I said, it's an effort to support to put our money where our mouths are and support our Melrose restaurants. And I fully intend to do that. We're ordering from like half the town. We're gonna have a big feast.
I am getting very familiar with my front porch and front lawn through all these activities. It's very helpful. I'm learning about the acoustics of clap along and sing along.
Right.
And
It's true.
it seems like something's going on all the time. Is something going on right now? What is that? You hear that?
Hi Melrose, Massachusetts. I'm Karen and I live in Melrose and the Scottish borders. We are in similar situation to yourselves and that we're in lockdown. So yes, we're climbing the walls. Just thought I would give you a wee vista of what we see from our house. Lucky for us, we have a lovely balcony. So the direction that you're facing there is towards Galashiels. It used to be a town that used spun wool. That's where it derived all its infrastructure. Unfortunately now it's been taken over by the Far East. We're coming out along here and there's our magnificent Melrose Church, now sadly closed due to the virus. The bypass, you saw 2 cars, normally that would be very busy. Melrose, the home of Melrose Rugby, that's a very big part of Melrose community. We hold the Melrose Sevens here every year and it attracts teams from all over the world. Coming round, opposite is Gatton Side, where the old Melrose monks used to have vineyards. And coming round, you'll see the Abbey, which dates back from the 13th century. In the Abbey, we're supposed to have Robert the Bruce's heart buried, brought back from the Crusades. Other things locally that we have is Walter Scott's house, Abbotsford, which is just about a mile along the road. Today we're having some lovely sun. And I'm beginning to believe in the conspiracy theory that the pollution makes Scottish weather so poor. Just by the way, my husband and I visited Boston, Massachusetts last February. We were on our way to the Cayman Islands and stopped off at your lovely city. But unfortunately, it reminded us so much of home as it rained all the time. I hope right now you're having much better weather as we are, and that you all continue to keep yourselves safe inside and enjoy what life you can. Bye-bye from me.
Okay, Melrosians the world over. This is a special segment on this week's Let's Talk Melrose. Melrose, we have connected to the OG of Melrose, Melrose, Scotland, and there's no better representative than we could be with today than Brian Holton. He's a translator, a historian, very knowledgeable about Melroses all over the world, including his hometown of Melrose, Scotland. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Hi, Brian.
Hiya.
And we want to point out too that this week here in Melrose, Massachusetts, it's school vacation week. And since everybody had to cancel their school vacations, Let's Talk Melrose. Melrose is taking everyone on vacation right now to Melrose, Scotland. So you're our school vacation host right now.
Okay, well, Melrose is a small town. It's Greater Melrose, as it were, is about 3,500 people, because at each corner of there's a village. One is on the other side of the River Tweed, which is their big river. The other is to the east of the village was actually, well, there was a Roman supply depot there 2,000 years before. And then there's one up on the hill behind and another one over towards the railway station. So altogether about 3,000 people, maybe about 1,700 in central Melrose itself. It is the home of Melrose Abbey, the 12th century. It was built in the 12th century. But from the 5th century, further down the river, there was a settlement of monks who brought Christianity to the heathen English. Well, they weren't English in these days, they were Northumbrians. So it's a town with a long, long history. And it's also, the local religion here is rugby football. And Melrose was where the game, the seven-a-side rugby was invented here.
And how does seven-a-side differ from traditional rugby?
Well, the normal rugby is 15-a-side.
Yeah.
And normal rugby is played for 80 minutes, 40 minutes and 40 minutes. This is 15 minutes each end. But it's played on the same size of a pitch.
Okay.
And rugby is a territorial game, so if there's only 7 of you, you have to run a lot. It's much faster. I'm not particularly interested in the 15-a-side, but 7-a-side is entertaining.
Interesting. Right. And what's your team?
Melrose.
Okay.
Melrose Rugby. If I supported anybody. Their colours are black and yellow, which is the town colour. And the local festival, every year a young unmarried man is elected as Melrosian.
We should do that.
He is the Melrosian. Yes. And it's a sort of imitation. It started in the 1930s. And he has a queen who is usually a girl of about 13, 14. And it's sort of an imitation of other towns on the borders have very ancient festivals based on horses. Selkirk, for instance, has sometimes 400 or 500 horsemen and women riding round the town's land. Melrose is maybe rarely as many as 100, but a good few dozen. Just on one day in the summer, will ride around the town. Through the whole weeks, they're going visiting other towns and things. So in the summer, all the border towns smell of horses.
It sounds grand. It sounds wonderful.
Well, it's not as romantic as you think, horse puppy, isn't that?
Somebody has to clean up after all those horses, right? So here in Melrose, Massachusetts, we're known for an abundance of pizza shops, nail salons, and rather extraordinary local access public television, I would say. And in our history includes the invention of Melrose, of the marshmallow fluff, and Melrose marshmallows. So that's what we're famous for. Have you ever had a peanut butter marshmallow fluffernutter sandwich over there in Melrose, Scotland?
I never have.
We're gonna have to send you one.
Maybe we could send one over.
We're gonna send one over.
Jen, in
you
fairness,
haven't lived.
In fairness, we're only a little over 100 years old.
Right.
So we've only just begun, and we did get
That's
the
true.
marshmallow thing correct. Which
Can
is-
we actually take credit for inventing the marshmallow fluff? Is that really
Emma
Melrose
Curtis.
invention?
I think Emma
Emma
Curtis that had Melrose Marshmallow, and then turned it into fluff. Somerville disputes our claim apparently, but
That's what I thought.
yeah,
they're
Our
not.
neighbor,
no,
our neighbor Brian.
right,
Uh,
our
uh,
neighboring town, but we think it's here.
So Brian, what is modern day Melrose, Scotland like? So we heard a little bit about rugby. And it's 3,000 people, and it sounds like you're spread out and got a little bit more than we do. We are 4 square miles and 28 people, sort of snuggled in as a suburb of Boston. But what else happens in the town of Melrose?
Well, the Borders used to be the tweed industry, a textile industry. I mean, names like Lyle and Scott and Pringle from the border, knitwear from the Borders. There is still some of that, some knitwear especially, and a little weaving, but mostly that died. In 1969, the London government took away a railway, and that killed the tweed mills. So nowadays, it's very much the biggest employers are the local government, and just outside of Melrose, a big hospital that serves the whole region, which is 50 miles in each direction. So these are the biggest employers. Melrose was a sleepy little place in many respects until Walter Scott, who built his house just outside of the town, and he made it famous. Because Scott in his day, we're talking about 200 odd years ago, his poetry was famous. If thou wouldst view Melrose aright, go view it by the pale moonlight, he wrote. And years later admitted he'd never actually seen it by moonlight. That's another story. But there's a huge railway station because by the 1840s when the railways were coming, this was a very, very busy town. It was one of the first major tourist towns. We still have, for a population of say 1,700, we have 5 hotels, 4 or 5 restaurants, a kebab shop, a Thai takeaway. So we're sort of very well, and 1 pub. There's only 1 pub.
Only 1
5
pub.
hotels.
We actually, it's like we have a lot in common with Melrose, Scotland. We have 3 train stations. We have a couple of pubs. I think we outnumber you on nail salons and pizza joints, but that's okay.
But it's good to know. It's good to know you have all those hotels for the Melrosians of Massachusetts who want to go visit.
Be very welcome. Be very welcome. The other thing that we have quite a lot of roundabout, of course, is sheep. This is sheep territory around here. We also have now, as well as the Abbey and the Roman remains, there are all sorts of peculiar bits and pieces of history. And Walter Scott wrote a lot about that. And some of what he wrote was true. I can guarantee that.
I think we need to do a road trip.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some mysterious folklore too.
Oh, yes.
Brian, it's funny you mentioned the sheep because somebody was asking me how many sheep does it take to knit a sweater, and I said, "Geez, I didn't know sheep could knit sweaters."
Well, I did very briefly one summer, or for a year and a half. I worked on a farm part time, a sheep farm. But once the sheep are shorn, once they're clipped and the fleece leaves the farmer kind of loses contact with it. It then goes to a wool broker, where each fleece is broken up into its soft bits, its hard bits, which are all used for different purposes. And then it goes off to be spun and carded and spun and processed. It's a long and interesting process, but almost everybody in the Borders can tell you something about it. My granny was a darner, for instance, on my mother's side. I have relatives who were wonderful. She was a greasy darner. It's one stage. Before you wash the wool, you must darn the little imperfections.
Oh, wow.
The tweed, the textiles. So you can greasy darners, and then after it's dried, there's dry darning. And there were wonderful names. There were mule piecers and whirpers and all sorts of loom tuners, all sorts of wonderful things. But that trade is almost gone.
Yeah.
So now everything we mentioned, you seem to know a lot about. And we learned a little bit in the run up to this that you used to have a show on BBC radio. And do you cover these sorts of things? I mean, you know a lot about so many different things.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the reason I know a lot about these things is at that period I was writing guidebooks, and then I was working in the museum, and I was also talking about these things on the radio. So I had to learn. I had to. At first, I scripted it very closely, and then latterly, I just knew roughly where I was going. So you do it. So you learn a lot. It's a fascinating place, this.
So we've done neither research nor scripting, and so we're kind of winging it. But I was hoping, since you have so much to add and to offer, if you might be willing to become a special correspondent to Let's Talk Melrose, Melrose of the United States, and so we can keep a link going, because it just seems like we could learn so much from you about everything that's happening over there.
I would be flattered, honoured, and delighted.
Oh,
like
perfect.
Like Walter Scott, some of what I'll tell you will be true.
Well, we have the same reputation, so this is a perfect match. So we're glad to know we can call on you occasionally and come visit virtually.
Oh, not occasionally. Let's do this on a daily or a weekly or an hourly. I'm locked down here. I can't go.
Yeah,
anywhere.
same. Yeah, we'll bring beers next time too.
Well, having said that, yes, I'm just I'll get a beer next time.
How is the whole pandemic and the lockdown playing out for you over there right now?
Well, I mean, one thing that people don't realise is that things are different in Scotland. The National Health Service is and always has been separate from the one in England. So different decisions are made about funding. It's not directly funded. It's indirectly affected by cuts in funding, which have been going on for 10 years south of the border. We've managed with our own government to keep these at bay a little bit. The law is different here. English law doesn't run in Scotland either, which helps run different regulations. We think that the curve is flattening, as far as we can tell. But it's the same everywhere, all over the world. It's a new virus. We don't know. We hope.
It's pretty remarkable.
But we don't know what's going to happen. So, but people here are certainly being very good about distancing, and helping their neighbours. I have, there's a friend of mine knocks on my door a couple of times a week just to see that I'm all right. He's got a list of single people. So he was knocking on the door to see if they're all right, which is a lovely thing to do. So it's bringing out a lot of good things.
Yeah.
But I think the feeling here, is that we cannot go back to the way that things were.
Right.
This is a paradigm shift. It's a change. It's like what happened when the young men and women came back from the war in 1945 and said, we are not going back to the world as it used to be. So we had the welfare state, the National Health Service and so on, free education, all started then. Because young folk said no. And I suspect with Extinction Rebellion and so on, something similar is happening with young people here.
It will be interesting to see how we sort of shift and how things transform once we are in a post-COVID era.
Yeah.
Actually, as we're having this conversation, our governor is announcing closure of schools through the end of the year.
Through the end of the year. We were waiting for that shoe to drop. There it is. Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty certain that was the announcement. I'm trying to check as we're talking.
I think that's what was expected, Eugenia, because the last thing I saw at the governor's office was we were really just sort of entering the peak.
Yeah.
The peak,
We're really becoming one of the new hotspots.
We are the fourth. Massachusetts is the fourth most affected state at the moment. Right. Is what I was reading in the Globe.
And we haven't yet hit the peak. We're about to hit the peak, they think.
We're in it.
Yeah.
But then there's an issue, different states in America are counting in different ways.
Right.
And we have an issue here, is that in Scotland we count the infections and the deaths differently the way they count it in England. So that, and then of course there are Chinese statistics, which I don't need to tell you, or dodgy at the least.
Yeah.
So we won't really know until it's over exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's true. But one bright spot in all of this insanity is we now have a place to go as soon as we can travel again.
Yeah.
And it is Melrose, Scotland.
Yes.
Absolutely.
On the list.
Between now and then, as the New World Order unfolds, we will stay in virtual contact on a regular basis with you, Brian. We appreciate you doing that. So until then, we'll say goodbye and we'll talk to you the next time. But thank you so much for joining the conversation and adding
This is wonderful.
everything that you did.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for asking. It's wonderful to meet you all, and let's do this again soon.
Yes.
As I say, I'm in lockdown. What else?
Yeah, that's two. Yeah, that's two.
Having said that, I'm off to have a glass of beer.
All right.
Do the same.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Cheerio.
Thank you.
Oh, and we're back in Melrose, Massachusetts, USA. How amazing was that? We got a personal tour. We and the entire LTMM community got a tour from Karen's balcony. What a spot that Melrose, Scotland looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I know where I'm going as soon as this crisis ends.
We can get out of here. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how amazing was Brian, or is Brian?
Great.
I mean,
Our new friend. Yeah, that was great.
He's so super knowledgeable and just a historian of Melrose, Scotland, and of all sorts of different things.
I feel like he's the Scott Macaulay of Melrose, Scotland.
I was going to say the same thing. Yes.
We should have these guys meet
But
up
he
on
plays
these
that
shows.
way.
That would be cool. There we go. That's another segment.
Scott Macaulay doesn't use the internet though, so we're gonna have to get creative on that one.
Yeah, right.
But, we'll figure it out. MMTV and the technology and the know-how has no boundaries, so I'm sure we'll be able to figure that out, leveraging the resources. Oh, we forgot to ask about their local TV station there. But anyway.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so now it's time to move on, wrap up. So we're going to do something different this week. Just we're tightening it up a little bit. We usually have win of the week or upcoming events. This week you can only pick one.
Okay.
And so let's hear. What do you want to do, Jen? What's your choice here? Upcoming event or win of the week? I
have an upcoming event. So tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And there's an organization, Melrose, Keep Melrose Beautiful. You can find them on Facebook. So Keep Melrose Beautiful, in partnership with the DPW and the city and others, have organized a safe, socially distant cleanup week. And they're doing it all week this week to sort of help with that efforts of sort of keeping people spread out. Normally it would be like, hey, let's everybody go out and clean up the city. But you actually have to go, we'll post the link, it's almost full. You have to go to their Sign Up Genius page, and you have to show up with gloves and kind of be ready to sort of do it safely. But there's different sections of the city that you sign up for so that too many people aren't congregating at the same time, and we can safely help clean up and keep Melrose beautiful. That's my upcoming event, and win, I guess. Go ahead.
That's great.
Excellent. It's a great thing to be part of. Tom, you want to go?
Yes. So my win comes from the internet, as reported and shared on Boing Boing. The Heller family of Maple Valley, Washington, used some of their time in quarantine to recreate the 1981 Journey video for the hit song Separate Ways, and thus restoring my faith in humanity. Yeah. The end result is an epic reenactment displayed side by side with the original, a meticulous attention to detail, shot by shot, including the legendary air keyboard and four-person head turn, makes this lip-sync performance shot entirely on iPhones absolutely epic. Kudos to Stephen and Jana Heller and their children, Lily 15, Jackson 14, Asher 12, and Violet 9. We'll post the link so everybody can enjoy. But really, I don't know why it struck me, but I just saw that and I was like, I love humans and the internet.
It was incredible.
Because it's awesome.
That was quite a write-up that you gave them there.
I'm practicing. To be honest, I'm copying Steve Koczela because you watch their podcast and it's tight and professional. So I tried to script one this week.
It's really good.
Because they are professionals.
Yeah.
So
that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, I would really, really, really like someone in Melrose, perhaps someone on our show, to work with his family to recreate a shot-by-shot video of a song of our choosing. Jen, we should choose the song.
Yeah, the challenge. We're throwing the gauntlet. challenge.
The House of Catalini has to match it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys
boy,
are,
I
you
think
guys
we
are the
should do that.
best
I don't
equipped.
have that level of cooperation over here. Anyway, Eugenia, what's your you got an event, a win? What do you got for us?
You know, I'm going to go with a win of the week. You guys just both had great wins, and there we're celebrating. But I'm going to make my win our quick visit to Melrose, Scotland. It was nice to get out of town after multiple weeks in quarantine, even for a moment. And so my win is to our new friend over in Scotland, Brian.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to visit him.
Yeah.
And again, the power of the internet, and keep the references coming. So everybody knows somebody who might know somebody in Melrose, Scotland, and who knows? I did a little Googling. There are Melroses all over the USA.
Yeah.
We're going to go everywhere.
We're going to be so well Zoom traveled.
Yeah,
why not?
We have nothing but time on our hands.
So the initial testing results show that 100% of Melrosians are awesome so far. So let's we gotta get the rest of the denominator. We gotta figure this out.
Now I think we can say we'll see you around the Melroses.